Hello everyone, I'm Tanya from Professor Tanya Speaks, and today we're going to be talking about how to create the concluding part of your speech. In other words, how to write your conclusion. Now, it's very important to talk about the conclusion because many people prepare the body of the speech, they prepare the introduction, and when it comes to the conclusion, they just say, okay, thank you. And that's the worst way to end a speech. So what we're going to do is look at the strategies that you should use when you're doing your conclusion, and that way you will leave your audience satisfied. Because remember, the introduction is the most important part. That's where you grab people's attention and you try and keep them there, and you keep them and you reel them in until you conclude. And then you don't just want to just leave them like that. You want to reel them in and leave them saying, ah. You want them to feel that the experience was really worth it. And the only way you can do that is if you plan and you prepare. So let's talk about that conclusion. Okay, so you finished the body of the speech, and now you're at the end. You have to let people know it's the end. You need to say something like, in conclusion, or to conclude, or while I'm wrapping up, or you have to just say something. You have to use words that signal this is the end. You must use those words. That way, your audience knows where you're going. So I like to say, okay, so in conclusion, that's the first thing. You say in conclusion. The next thing you do is you summarize the thesis. Now, in the introduction, you should have said something like, so today I'm going to talk to you about. Now, that's the structure, but you may say it any way you want to say it, any way that's more natural to you. But you have to announce at the end of your introduction what you plan to talk about in the body. So when you're doing your conclusion, you have to refer to the same thesis. And you don't want to say it the same way you said it. You want to summarize, paraphrase, but you want to remind the audience of what you just told them about. And for those of you who are saying, then could they forget? Yeah, they actually could. They actually could. Because let's say it was a 10-minute speech. A lot of things you may have discussed, or they may be in a different place, or hey, we're all busy, right? So let's not assume that they remember. So first, in conclusion. Second, remind them about your thesis. And then in the end, you want to close memorably. Excuse me. So you're really doing three things. Well, it's two things. You're reminding them about the thesis, but you're using the word in conclusion before, so I kind of think of it as two, but it's really one thing. And then you're going to conclude. Now, the way you conclude is important. And there are different things you can do. So I'm going to tell you about a few strategies that I like using. Now, the strategy that I like the most is what I call the full circle, where I started with a story at the beginning, and I leave you wondering what happened. And then at the end, I conclude. And I did it in this video where I was talking about friendship, and I told you about my friend. And I told you that we had a fallout and we were angry and we didn't talk for 10 years. And then her mom died and I called. And I left it there. I didn't tell you what happened. I just said, I picked up the phone and I called, and as I was waiting, and then I started the rest of the speech. At the end, I went back and I told you how it ended. That is one of those nice full circle ways. So that's one way. Another thing you can do, basically, is put more emphasis on emotionalizing the ending, where you do a lot of repetition and you kind of talk to your audience and you encourage them and motivate them. So for example, in the speech that I did about when you're not good enough, at the end of it I said, you know, even if you fail, it may mean blah, blah, blah. It could mean blah, blah, blah. It could mean blah, blah, blah. Repetition and emotionalizing. and then I ended. So that's something you could also do. Another thing you could do is end with a call to action where, maybe you got people thinking something, feeling motivated, and you say, okay, for those of you who want to do this, I'm going to encourage you now, go to my website, or you tell them whatever you want them to do. But there's some kind of call to action. Or you could end with a quote where you say, good friends are better than pocket money. In Jamaica, we have that phrase, and we say it in Pata. We say, good friend better than pocket money. So let's say I wanted to do a speech about friendship, and at the end of it, I said all I had to say, and I say, I will never give up a friend like that again, because you know what? As the proverb says, or as the saying goes, as a Jamaican saying goes, good friend better than pocket money. I could have ended it like that. So I could use a phrase or a quotation, but something that the people can relate to. So I have a wider audience, so I wouldn't have used a good friend better than pocket money ending, because it would only be applicable to my Jamaican audience, who I love you guys, love you lots, So that's another way. So you can think of anything, but you don't ever want to just say, I'm done. That is not a conclusion. And you don't want to say, I don't have anything else to say. That is also not a conclusion. Remember, end memorably. When you're done, your audience should think, wow, okay. But you shouldn't leave them doing, is that the end? You don't want that, right? You want to end memorably. And I usually say, look at the way you started and try to match it. Find something that matches the way you started. So whatever way you started, look at it and see what you can do to kind of mirror it. Not mimic it, not do the exact thing, but make sure that if someone were to just look at your introduction and your conclusion, they would see the unity. They would say, wow, those two fit together and there's a bond there. So that's the rule of thumb, really. Make sure that there's coherence and connection. But in general, two things you have to do when you're concluding. Wrap it up by summarizing, by saying in summary, and then reminding them about the thesis. Two things as one, and then you want to end memorably. If you do that and your speech is good, everything is all good. So I hope that helps, and I hope that is something that you can apply immediately and see results. So thank you for watching, and until I see you in the next video, bye for now.